Gotham Knights. You know what I love? I love an Arkham game with the fat trimmed off. Now, Gotham Knights had a very, very poor launch back in the day and was a game that I purposely avoided at launch. But after looking back at the Arkham titles, I unironically really love Batman Arkham Origins, which was a Warner Bros. Games title, not a Rocksteady title. So they're at least competent at making Batman titles. Well, somewhat competent. So based on that logic, this game could be another title that was not well received by the fan base, but could actually be a hidden gem for myself. But before we dive into that, a little bit of backstory. So after Warner Bros. Games developed the Matter of Family DLC for Arkham Knight, you might remember that DLC as the one with the Harley skin that just did not quit.
Run, Mr. J! Run!
Holy shit. It was heavily rumored that they would be working on a sequel to Batman Arkham Knight, and this title would focus mainly on our boy Damian Wayne and play pretty much like the Arkham titles we've come to love. Now that sounds super interesting, but the concept quickly got thrown into the trash and a few years later kind of morphed into what we got, Gotham Knights. Thankfully though, not self-inserting itself into the Arkham series storyline, unlike some games. Yeah, I'm looking at you. This is an entirely new universe taking place after the Batman dies again. Honestly, kinda getting sick of this trend of Batman just dying all the time. And though the game doesn't reinvent the wheel for these types of games, and sometimes actually just outright regresses the wheel, I still actually found myself enjoying my time in Gotham. It's not as good as the Arkham games, and does have a terrible habit of giving the player busy work, but I still enjoyed my playthrough way more than the other titles. Especially you. Why are you still in my house? Now, I want to be completely transparent. I love the Batman Arkham games. They are near and dear to my heart. And though I try to take my own personal biases out of these videos, I will most likely be making the comparison to these titles, which may seem a bit unfair. But I mean, Warner Bros. Games knows what they're doing. They're treating it like an Arkham-esque title, so I'm going to do the same. The only person who doesn't treat it like that is Steam. What the fuck, Gabe? Are you high? Bearing in mind I own all of the Arkham titles on this account, it's pretty random to compare Gotham Knights to Dark Souls and Elden Ring. And let's not even get started on that DLC pack that only has a couple of skins and an emote, but costs almost half the RRP of the game. Jesus Christ, Warner Brother. Like, did you bet all your money away? Did you make some poor investments? How are you this desperate? So with that said, you guys seem super interested in me covering this title, so put on your insanely butt-tight latex. Let's take a look and see if Gotham Knights was really that bad. Gotham Knights honestly has a fire opener. We join Batman being attacked by Ra's al Ghul, and this 10-minute cutscene has everything. The choreography is brilliant, and I am digging the new Batsuit. And not to mention, Michael Antonagas does the voice this time around, and considering this is the first time he has done a character this well respected, he's honestly up there as some of my favorite Batman voice actors. He has such a calm and caring but also calculated Bruce, and an intimidating Batman that's actually quite cold and distant. It's good stuff.
Unlike you, I'm not afraid of dying. I'd rather keep my humanity. If you're watching this, I'm dead. This is a code black. This message was automatically triggered when I destroyed the cave and everything it contained.
And during the cutscene, we get so many nods to past villains in the universe, like the Joker, the Riddler, whatever this dinosaur is. I don't remember a Terminator dinosaur in the universe, but sure, okay. It's honestly a great opening. I went into Gotham Knights expecting it to not be very good, but this alone got me locked in. This is possibly one of the best intros in any of the Batman games I've seen. Like I mentioned, this isn't Bruce's story. The theme of Gotham Knights is legacy. And once Batman realizes he cannot defeat Ra's al Ghul, he overreacts and blows up the Batcave, killing both himself and Ra's in the process. Mwah, such a good opener. That was some good food. WB Games, you could have warned a brother that you were going to go this hard out the gate. Fuck, I can't have that in the video. That's so shit. Anyway, we cut to Bruce Wayne's funeral and we get a beautiful speech by Bruce's uncle, Jacob Kane, from Martha's side. And then we are left with our 4 main protagonists. We have Batgirl, Red Hood, Robin, and Nightwing. It's here we can first pick the character you want to play as. This can be changed later on when you get a HQ up and running, and they all have pretty different play styles. But for the story, they're kind of interchangeable. They don't really affect anything else going on in the story. It's more just who would you like to see making the quips and reacting to the main plot. I will say that they do each get a very, very minor character development questline, which just ends up being a couple of cutscenes. I played all of the Bat Gang, and the one I thought I would enjoy the most being Red Hood, because I mean, he has a gun and he doesn't discriminate with it. But I just didn't like how slow the playstyle felt. And that's where Gotham Knights kind of starts to fall apart here. It's slow and sluggish. I've done a bit of research, and apparently the reason why this game doesn't have the same free flow system as the Arkham series wasn't due to them wanting to go in a different direction. It was because they tried implementing it, but it caused issues with servers while doing online play. So what they had to do was kind of break it down to a pre-alpha state, and that's kind of what we got. The lock-on doesn't work, there's no combo system, and honestly it just kind of feels rough around the edges when doing fights. Some enemy health bars can be way too fatty, and it can take up to like 3 or 4 combos just to take them out. For a standard mob, that's ridiculous. And the amount of times you get hit off screen is ridiculous to say the least. Now that would be a massive L, but it is kind of my fault. It wasn't until the final couple of missions that I realized I had been using the new stats and crafting system wrong. When you craft a new weapon or suit, the game will tell you if it's better or worse than your current gear. Nothing new there, pretty standard stuff. But the game heavily pushes you to put mods into these weapons and armors to increase the stats. But what the game doesn't tell you is that it's only comparing the base form of the new items. So even when the game says that your current armor is better than the new stuff you've found, it's probably not the case. You need to remove all the mods on all of your stuff to get an accurate reading. So I didn't know this, so I had very basic gear for most of the runtime of this title, which made the game like 10 times harder. So the issues I had with the gameplay honestly might not have been as bad if I paid a bit more attention or figured it out. I generally don't know if a pop-up or a tutorial told me about this or not, but I don't think it did. But anyway, like I said, later on I figured it out, and when I was min-maxing the gear side of things, it was still kind of a slog doing some of these fights, so it didn't change too much, but it did impact how much I enjoyed my game time. I spent the majority of the time playing as my girl Babs, because she honestly plays the most like Batman typically does, though her glide is so nerfed. What the fuck did they do to this thing? There is like no momentum, and half the time when you pull it out, you just stop. It's so weird. I found myself using the grapple jump the most to traverse the city. If you slam A down when you're grappling to a structure, you do this massive jump, and this is how I got around Gotham. It was less like gliding around like Batman and more jumping around a city like the Hulk. So yeah, like I said, the cape just doesn't really work in Gotham Knights, but the main reason I played her was her personality. Speaking of aesthetically pleasing things, Gotham has a very new style in Gotham Knights. Though the city looks like it has people vaping 24/7 with all the smog around, the way it catches the neon lights around the skyscrapers looks so goddamn good. And the city does have some character. It changes depending on what's happening in the story. It's so good, chef's kiss. My only issue is the architecture of Gotham this time around. It sounds so stupid, but it's lacking that gothic style we're so used to in the series. If you told me this was just a generic city that Warner Brother Games pulled from the Unreal Asset Store, I'd honestly buy it. I wish it looked more like Arkham Knight with the new lighting system. That would be the perfect combination. Unfortunately to me, Arkham Knight is still and probably will always be the best looking Gotham for these types of games. Now you really notice this when you're exploring on the Bat Cycle, and to be honest, that's quite a massive missed opportunity in itself. This thing is so goddamn slow. You get this right out the gate, and like I said, I mainly explored Gotham using the grapple jump technique. That seemed faster than this motorcycle at full speed. What the fuck? It controls alright, but it is just really slow, and I have no idea why this thing can do a wheelie. Is it just for style points? From what I can tell, it doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't even speed up the cycle. But don't worry, you'll forget about it very soon, because in a few hours you will unlock the ability to fast travel, and once this is available, please do what I did. Drop whatever you're doing in the game and unlock these fast travel points. You will thank me later. It saves so much time. And as we've talked about the beam-up sections in Gotham Knights, it feels only fitting to discuss the stealth portion of this game. I mean, it exists, I guess. Honestly, other than a couple of times, the game actually forces you to do stealth, which I'm gonna be honest, you can probably count on one hand. You don't really need to do that in this game. Most of the fights can be brute forced, and there just isn't many gadgets or upgrades that will push you to do more of a stealthy playthrough. So honestly, in Gotham Knights, the gameplay loop will mostly look like this for players. So yeah, there you go. The Bat family decides to take up Bruce's last case and investigate the death of Kirk Langstrom. This leads Batgirl into bumping into Talia al Ghul. It's here where she tells us that the League of Shadows are planning to come to Gotham to fight an unnamed force for the territory, as Batman's no longer here to stop them. She then proceeds to penetrate her dad. Ill. Before we can dive into that nonsense, we get a video call from Harley Quinn, who is deep inside Blackgate, as she was actually working with Batman on the sly, getting information on some prisoners. Now, I love that Gotham Knights really pushes that Harley is an incredibly intelligent woman and is actually somewhat respected in her field of psychology. You see guys, she doesn't just look good in latex. I mean, she does, but she's also got a PhD. So we head to Blackgate, and I'm gonna be honest, I've made quite a few jokes about this throughout the video so far. And yes, maybe I'm a dredge to society, but I swear the devs knew what they were doing with Batgirl. Every scene that she shows up in loves to emphasize her assets. You might think that's an overreaction, but honestly, every scene, and it works. This could honestly be the main reason why I kept pushing through to each and every cutscene. And you know what? I'm okay with that. We do some errands for Harley and cripple a couple of innocent public workers. It's a bad day to work at Blackgate. And then we chase a balloon across the prison. This is so weird. This is very major tone whiplash. We've just gone from Bruce dying to Ra's al Ghul getting stabbed by his daughter to this, especially with the soundtrack. So far, it has been stellar with original music composed for the game. It generally feels like something that belongs in Batman. But now we get a rock version of Living Da Vida Loca that will honestly make you want to rip out your teeth and swallow them whole. It's so bad. Thankfully, this section does not last long and Harley breaks out of Blackgate, and we can continue with the main plot as we have the book that she was working on for Batman. I guess now we can talk about the side case files. Harley is the only one that really gets introduced in the main plot, but these are the definition of optional, and honestly can actually be more fun than the main plot most of the time. The only downside is a lot of the time to unlock these, you have to do side objectives like interrogating thugs in the overworld, and that is so boring. This is where Warner Brother Games really stretch out that playtime. So you can find these thugs randomly committing crimes throughout Gotham, but the easiest way to find the ones that you're looking for to interrogate is through premeditated crimes, where you can see which faction is heading that crime. So if you need to interrogate a freak, you'd go to a freak premeditated crime. Simple. Unfortunately, you can only get these each night by doing minor crimes, which are the ones that just randomly pop up. Once you get enough clues, they will be premeditated ones the next night for you to complete. Now that's a lot of work and a lot of RNG, but just to sprinkle a bit of seasoning on top. The thugs that you can interrogate are pretty random, so you might do all of this to get a freak premeditated crime, but then when you go to interrogate, none of them can be interrogated. This is so bad. I hated these sections. Granted, when you do find one that can be interrogated, the criminals are pretty respectful for it. They just kind of stand there and watch.
I'm looking for Judge Elena Moreno. Tell me where she is.
Time to shoot! Look, we're not crazy enough to cross the people who want Moreno dead, okay? But the regulators, oh, now they have been bragging about a big protection job.
Just what I wanted to hear.
Stop shooting!
But my god, I am not a fan of this mechanic. I don't care if it's more realistic to the Batman world. It was boring to play. Did not like it. The actual missions though are great. Harley has her becoming an influencer and drugging the general public into causing riots in Gotham.
That is not good. Don't let her inject you with untested medical equipment.
You hear that, guys? Maybe think twice next time you go to buy one of those Lunchlian Primes. And she has a pretty dope boss fight.
Now, let's play, brat girl.
They did it, boys! We finally got the funny hammer. These fights can actually be pretty difficult sometimes. We also get Mr. Freeze trying to fix global warming by honestly going a little bit too extreme the other way. And the set piece is awesome. It reminds me of Arkham Knight with his section in that game. He almost like completely changes the landscape in Gotham. And his boss fight is unique as well. My issue with Freeze though is that he kind of outstays his welcome. Once you defeat him and send him to Blackgate, later on you have to go and stop him from escaping. And you get another boss fight, which is honestly kind of the same thing again. But this time he's in a mech. The one I didn't like was Clayface. Clayface pops up literally completely out of nowhere. I was so confused. I was just going around Gotham and then there was a Clayface trying to, I don't know, molest a civilian. Luckily, you don't have to interrogate people for his quest line, so we just go and fight him as a boss. And honestly, his boss fight is pretty crap. The fight gave me so much trouble. Most of the time when hits shouldn't hit you, they were, and you just kind of get stuck on his hitbox. Like right here, I'm just trying to dodge out the way, but I get caught on his arm. It's just poorly made. I did not like this boss fight. It took me forever as well. But again, I do want to give the caveat that I hadn't worked out the gear system yet. So I was still using like basic armor. So that could be why I had so much trouble with him. So just little disclosure there. The villain roster is far lower than most of the Arkham games as well. Other than the villains in the main plot, the only side content you do is fighting against Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze, and Clayface. Now, when you compare that to stuff like Arkham City, where that roster was honestly almost endless, it's a bit lackluster, but it does feel like these side quests are a bit more fleshed out, except Clayface. So I'm in two minds. I would have liked to have seen more supervillains in this game, but also I feel like the other Arkham games get a little bit too overstacked with the amount of villains in those games, and a lot of those quest lines tend to be a little bit lackluster, like the Hush stuff. Anyway, back to the main plot. Turns out Harley was investigating criminals getting out of lockup early because of someone pulling the strings from the shadows. And after we look into this, it seems like most of the villains are getting this treatment except the Penguin, who is like the only criminal in Gotham who actually serves his time. No wonder he's so pissed off all the time. We head over to the Iceberg Lounge, which is more clubby than it usually is in these games. I do like it. And we interrogate him to find out that it's actually a secret society doing all of these string pullings, and they go by the name of the Court of Owls. Now this got me super excited. I love the Court of Owls in the new 52, and I've been wanting to see them in a game adaptation for a while, and I actually didn't know they were in Gotham Knights until now. I did some research while writing the script, and it seems like people are kind of on the fence on whether or not they like the Court of Owls being in this game, or whether or not it's just undercooked and they shouldn't be in this story. After playing it, I kind of disagree with the latter. Them becoming the main antagonists in this game I thought was great, and having them go into war with the League of Shadows for Gotham, good stuff. I thought it was pretty good. Anyway, Batgirl investigates some buildings owned by the Court of Owls, and we find out they were actually mining something they're calling the Fountain of Youth, which is just a watered down Lazarus pit. They have been using this weaker version of the pit to conduct experiments to create talons. Anyway, while we're exploring this mining facility, we get captured and we meet the voice of the Court of Owls.
Kill them! The voice of the court comes. He will dictate the punishment.
The court cannot forgive your failure. You will atone with blood.
Oh, hi, Uncle Kane. We also learned that Penguin's mother, Constance Cobblepot, is part of this group. So she had the secret society at her fingertips, and she never once tried to get her son out of jail. I honestly don't know if that's good parenting or bad parenting. God, I almost feel bad for him. The court does end up catching Batgirl, no thanks to Penguin, who of course betrays her. Such a mummy's boy. And they drug us, and we end up in this weird death trap maze that keeps changing as you run through it. This section's kind of random, and it has some spooky moments with like a horror-esque Batgirl. But what I found really interesting about this section was that when you die and go back to the starting area, there's a new picture of your death on the wall. It's really cool. As you can tell, I died a lot in this section. But we managed to escape, and then we infiltrate a party being held in honor of Bruce Wayne, where the court are attending. It's here after not respecting the do not go upstairs sign.
He's a writer's medium.
I can't agree. It's Godard's film.
Come on. Detectives, I cannot believe you would both violate the please stay downstairs rule, which was prominently posted.
I'm not.
We find out that the voice was in fact Jacob Kane all along.
The only one hiding behind the mask is you, Miss Gordon.
Cool. I mean, he didn't change his outfit or his voice when we first met him, so it's not really a shocker. Jacob goes on about how he knew that Bruce was playing Batman, and though didn't respect his actions and how he was going about protecting the city, he never wanted to make a move on him as he loves his nephew. It's actually kind of nice. Even Alfred says that he doesn't really know the man that Jacob is now, but still believes that he loved Bruce. Again, it's that theming of legacy and passing on the torch. Jacob always wanted to try and get Bruce to join the fold. Unfortunately, we do find out later, spoilers, that the world's greatest detective had absolutely no clue about any of this.
We found the Court of Owls.
They do exist.
Yeah. And your Uncle Jacob was the leader.
Jacob?
Anyway, Jacob escapes and the League decide to make their move on Gotham, killing anyone and everyone in the way. Now, they're a new faction that joins the fray, and they're a bit annoying to fight. They have a habit to just, after every combo, teleport away. Even if they just teleport back into the same position, it will break up any combo you have, and any move you try to use on them will just be wasted. They're a bit of a slog to fight. What I do like though is that as they first come into Gotham and you go outside, you can feel the League's bloodthirsty influence coming into Gotham. I mean, the world just starts looking more like the animated series. It looks so good. We catch up with Talia al Ghul, who's fighting off the League, showing that she's gone rogue from them. Or has she? And now the second half of the game kind of backseats for a little bit, as we just kind of do some basic missions for a while now. The goal is to acquire evidence that Jacob Kane is a bad guy so we can get him arrested and prosecuted legit. Now to do this means we just do back-to-back random standard crime missions. And it is so boring. Once you do a few of these, you then have to interrogate 2 of each criminal faction in Gotham, and like I said before, that is just a time sink. It's not great. It's definitely the worst part of the game. Once we go through all of that, we partner up with the GCPD and we do a siege onto Jacob's headquarters. We catch up to him and he tries to escape from Batgirl like a James Bond villain by using a submarine. You know, the slowest possible transport that you can use on water. After getting caught, he decides to goad Batgirl into punching him in the face, which she does, and then that's it. Nothing comes from that.
Take your best shot. You get one.
What were you doing? I think Jacob just wanted Batgirl to punch him. Actually, on reflection, I think I'd let Batgirl deck me in the face as well. We think we've got him dead to rights, but unfortunately only the first part of that is true because Talia Hanzo's Jacob in front of everyone.
Jacob!
Now, if you like the Court of Owls in this game so far, then, well, say goodbye, because they're basically AFK for the rest of the game now. Priority shifts to Talia and the League of Shadows, as it turns out Talia was working with them all along, and she wanted to take over Gotham. The League members she killed in front of Batgirl a few hours ago must have been so confused before they died. We followed Talia's trail to the Arkham Asylum, and though I was excited to know that we're going back here, this is a weak section. You barely explore this. But it is here where we find out that the League of Shadows were creating man-bats? I guess technically it means he's in the game, right? I don't know, my knowledge might be a bit wrong, but I never knew the League created man-bats. Is that a thing that's ever happened before? Anyway, he's just a beefy mob in this game. You fight like 5 of them. We defeat the first one and then we get knocked out. And I kind of like that Babs wakes up thinking that she might have to take up the Oracle mantle again. She's like deathly terrified to become that person again. It's a nice touch.
No, Can I?
The scans show your back is not injured. Bruised, but nothing more.
We get back out there, and after defeating a bunch more man-bats, we find out that Talia's heading to an underground mine. And we believe this is where she's hiding the Lazarus Pit. Now, we explore this section, and first off, I want to say this section absolutely sucks. Aesthetically, it does look pretty cool, but I don't know, the controls seem really rough. You have to use these wooden platforms to traverse these bottomless pits, but sometimes Batgirl just jumps off them in a random direction. I died, I think, like 10 times in this section just trying to do the platforming. I said that in quotes because it's not really platforming.
Be careful. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
But anyway, we find the Lazarus Pit that was conveniently located right next to the Batcave. I feel like Bruce either knew this was here, or he is such a bad detective. Jesus Christ. It turns out her goal isn't to lead the League of Shadows, but she wants to create a leader for the League by using our boy Bruce and the Pit. Now, after dunking on him a couple of times into the pit, he kind of loses his sanity and we have to fight a resurrected Bruce Wayne. This fight is pretty good. I said this in my Suicide Squad video, but I like the idea of fighting Batman. And though this doesn't go that hard into it, he throws a couple of batarangs, but kind of just beats the shit out of Babs. And it's not too difficult, but it was a nice touch. I was quite excited for it. Once we knock some sense into Bruce, he does what he does best and sacrifices himself to a pegging from Talia. Honestly, man, I'd do the same. We put Bruce in a timeout and we have our final boss fight with Talia al Ghul. This is the final boss. This is the climax. This is the end of Gotham Knights. It's nothing, man. It's such a bad boss fight. Now, by this point in the game, I had worked out how the gear system worked, so my min-maxing of my character might have gone a little too hard, but It's just so bad. Honestly, I don't even have to tell you. Look, watch this. This is the final fight. This is the last thing I did in Gotham Knights before the ending cutscene. That's it. Honestly, man, I gave you far too much hate back in the day. I find it funny that with each and every Batman game I play, I start to look back at that Joker boss fight in Asylum and it honestly starts to look better and better. Anyway, it turns out we accidentally led the Court of Owls to the Fountain of Youth they have been chasing for centuries. And it seems like there's way too many mobs for a tired Batgirl and a nearly dead again Batman to take out. Batman, again, honestly doing the only thing he's been good at in this game, sacrificing himself. Like, I feel like Batman just wants to die. This poor guy has tried to take himself out 3 times in this game so far. Jesus Christ. Hey, it's fine. Batman doesn't kill people. So Batman is definitely for really reals dead this time for sure, and the game ends on Batgirl saying to Gotham that the Bat family is now protecting them. And though the Court and Talia are still lurking in the shadows, they feel more prepared and ready to take on both them and any new threat to Gotham. And that's Gotham Knights. After writing this script, I realized the main story beats really don't add to much. It's quite a short game. My playtime was just shy of 20 hours, and honestly, if you took out the BS playtime stretching missions and just boiled it down to the base plot and the side supervillain missions, you could easily half that time. It is not long at all for a Batman title. And because of that, I can see why people were disappointed at launch. This was a full-fledged $70 game, and it doesn't feel like it should be. Now don't get me wrong, I honestly actually enjoyed my time. Aesthetically, it looks so good to me, and though Gotham has looked more gothic in other titles, it's still so heavily stylized that I loved it. And the writing, though not as well crafted as it could have been, I still found myself enjoying the story and seeing the Bat family bounce off each other. The new takes on some villains, though not reinventing them, were actually fun to experience. So was it really that bad? Is it a veto game? At launch, yeah, maybe it was. But nowadays, if you can buy it quite cheap, it's actually really fun. I think it's a good game. I missed the game at launch, and I know optimization-wise it wasn't great. The game was insanely buggy. Servers didn't work, which is kind of a big deal for a game pushing multiplayer gaming. But a lot of those issues back then are now fixed. They did try to jump on the bugs very quickly. And I feel like that does deserve a little bit of respect. So if you can grab this game on sale, it is a blast, worth the pennies. But I would say if you're looking to buy it and you're tempted by that full Steam RRP, yeah, maybe wait a little bit. If that's the case, you're probably better off rebooting your copy of Arkham Knight. But Gotham Knights is a fun experience for a die-hard Batman fan. But honestly, though I did have fun, it's probably one I will not ever revisit. Maybe. Probably not though. Like I mentioned in my Suicide Squad video, I am really holding out hope that the next Arkham title by Rocksteady will prove that there is so much more to this type of Batman content, and so much more it can do in a video game space. Warner Brothers did it again. They did make a game that, though a lot of people didn't like, I actually enjoyed. I wouldn't call this game slop. I would say it was just mishandled. Slop to me is a certain caliber of games, and only really one of those deserves it in the series. Seriously, get the fuck out of here. Thank you so much for watching the video. If my cringy video content didn't make you run away in terror, then maybe subscribe. I'm sure the next one will do just that. I would love to give major shout outs to the guys who support me on Patreon. You are the high-res butt to this channel's Batgirl. Thank you so much. Pitstab, Ali Tato, and Chris Spicer. The fact that you guys go above and beyond to support me is nuts. Much love. Now for the next video, we'll be moving more into spooky territory, but I do have plans to do another comic book hero real soon, so keep an eye out for that. But that's the end of this video. As always, stay safe out there. Tie out. Peace.